Still Monday. I think I said it was the 22nd in the last effort, but this is the 23rd of January. And this chapter deals with my neighborhood. This is a pretty easy one, and I recounted most of the things, but they're, as an overall viewpoint and an idea about my neighborhood and the towns that I grew up in. Most of the videos that I have produced, and even the events in the book, virtually all of those, not all of them, but most of them have taken place in the towns that I grew up in Montpelier, in Soda Springs. So a good share of the information that I've already provided occurred when I was living in those small towns in southeast Idaho. Just as kind of a flashback, quick synopsis in Montpelier, the rift between the railroaders and the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that was a very real thing that we discussed in an earlier video. And it was overcome by some great Relief Society ladies who decided to invite the railroaders to a dinner. And that, it didn't immediately fix it, but it started the process to fix the rift between the railroaders and the members of the church. And of course, we lived right on the boundary line between those two groups, 339 North 8th Street. Montpelier's where I learned to drive. My grandpa recounted that. I learned to fish. I learned to hunt. All of my Little League experience, of course, occurred mostly in Montpelier. Playing basketball the first 2 years. My knee injury occurred when I was in Montpelier and missed a whole season of basketball my sophomore year of high school. The second ward, jumping out the window during summer school, Sunday school, that occurred in Montpelier. Sleeping out, raiding the gardens and the rhubarb and the green apples and all of that stuff, listening to the ball games on my transistor radio, all of that occurred in Montpelier. Even the streaking down Main Street, sledding down M Hill, great fun in the winter, sled all the way down that M Hill. The blue spruce trees in the middle of Main Street, and the stores that we talked about in the previous vlogs. All bring back some great memories. The people, of course, are central in all of those things. The good friends that I grew up with, Neil Dimmick and Bob Powell and Lynn Nelson and Brent Peterson and Donald Gruen. I mean, there's just so many, and I have great memories about them all. Mrs. Clayton was a teacher in Montpelier in the 4th and 5th grade, which we talked about her. Playing marbles, throwing snowballs, oh my goodness. Bear Lake in Montpelier was the snowy, cold capital of the world, and so there was ample opportunities to throw snowballs. Hooky bobbing. I don't know if I'd mentioned that before. That's where a car goes by and you run out and grab onto their bumper and slide on your feet, in a squat position behind the car for as long as you wanted to slide on the street. Of course, the streets had to be icy, but that was no problem most of the time. Ice skating. I mean, there are just so many. Bear Lake, great memories of Bear Lake. And we rekindled some of those. Minnetonka Cave is right there. We rekindled some of those memories as we took 6 of our grandkids to Bear Lake last summer, and boy, we surely enjoyed that. And to you 6, that was so fun, and thank you for helping us to make it a great time, at least for me. Walking down those Minnetonka Cave steps was tough, and I appreciate you waiting for me to get up to the top and so forth, but it was great fun. The boating and the food and the Whirlmark and all of that. It was so fun to be with those, and they bonded so well, those 6 grandkids. Kate and Avery and Eli and let's see, who else went there? Will, yeah, oh yeah, Will went, and Elise. She had. I'm flashing back here even as we speak here. We had some great times there, and in Bear Lake. And Molly, of course, Molly. We had some great times. Now, when we moved to Soda Springs, a lot of this stuff I've talked about were in Soda Springs. The winning of the state championship, should have won it twice in most Soda Springs. The rift in my family caused when my dad announced we were moving from Montpelier to Soda Springs. Well, I'm not going. I want to play ball with the guys I grew up with. All of that. See, all that transition took place in both of those towns. The moving part, we talked about how tough that move was. You know, the Saturday, it was a long process, and my dad falling asleep in the back, you know, on the way back. I remember that while I was driving, about 2 or 3 in the morning. Yeah, that was a long day. You know, being elected student body president at Soda Springs High School, the fun and the events that occurred, and the coaches, both of those areas. At any rate, softball, we had a great time in both of those areas. So I have great memories of both Soda Springs and Montpelier. So every time I go back, driving down those streets or walking those streets and remembering is a great experience for me. No one else can identify with that. My siblings probably, but my own family, you know, I can tell them a little bit about this, but those feelings are definitely there. So remember where you grew up. It will be a positive thing in your life. Thanks very much. Have a great afternoon.